would we be without science? Probably not where we are today. After all, without science, we wouldn't understand the world around us. We wouldn't live as long, nor would we recover from common illnesses or injuries as quickly as we do today. Yes, science is a major factor in the advancement of our society, but it's not all positive. From disturbing creations to experiments on humans, there's a whole other side to it all. Just hit that subscribe button and be prepared to see the rather creepy side of science that often goes unseen. The Monster Study. In 1939, Wendell Johnson decided to step up his research into stuttering by conducting an experiment on children. Probably realizing no parent would allow their child into the study, he took 22 orphans as his subjects. Half of the children, some of whom stuttered, received therapy, which was positive and involved praise. The other half, regardless of whether they stuttered or not, were criticized and were told their speech wasn't normal. Unsurprisingly, those in the negative therapy group developed all sorts of psychological and speech-related issues which followed them on throughout their lives. MK Ultra. If you've ever been wary of the government and thinking about wearing your own tinfoil hat, this science experiment might just push you over the edge. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, the CIA was very interested in the whole issue of spies, interrogation, and torture. Specifically, they wanted to know if the Russian or American spies would reveal secrets if they were exposed to drugs like LSD and amphetamines. In addition to testing done on government employees, the CIA even went so far as to test the drugs on the general public in places like brothels, all without permission. And the government wonders why no one trusts them. Soviet reanimation. Since zombies are a pretty hot topic, it only makes sense to bring up this strange set of Soviet-era experiments. There's always been a fascination with reanimating the dead, and in the Soviet Union, scientists were conducting all sorts of super creepy experiments. From hooking up animals to live off of machines, they went even so far as to cut the head off of a dog and keep it alive for a short period with the help of a machine. Not done there, in the 1950s, Vladimir Demikhov made an army of two-headed dogs, one of which actually lived for about a month. The Hoffling Hospital Experiment. In 1966, an experiment was devised to see just how far nurses were willing to go when it came to following orders from a doctor, and the results were disturbing. Phone calls were placed to 22 different on-duty nurses by someone pretending to be a doctor. The doctor asked each nurse to administer a patient with a fictitious drug called Astratin at twice the recommended dose. In this case, the drug was simply a placebo, but the nurses didn't know that. Disturbingly, 21 of the nurses broke all sorts of hospital rules to administer the drug simply because the order had come from a superior. Nazi hypothermia research. It goes without saying that the Nazis did a lot of terrible things, more than we can possibly discuss here. However, what's really creepy is that some of their experiments actually benefited the science we now use today. For instance, wishing to find out how extreme cold water affected their downed pilots, Nazi scientists subjected hundreds of concentration camp victims to ice-cold baths for hours at a time. Dozens of inmates died during these studies. However, it's more than a little creepy to think that a lot of what we know today about the body's reaction to cold water and many design features in survival suits have come from the twisted science of Nazi Germany. The Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. From 1932 to 1972, the U.S. government and Tuskegee University embarked upon a rather sinister study of syphilis. They took 600 volunteers, of which 399 suffered from syphilis. However, rather than treat their African American patients, doctors simply promised the men free healthcare and treatment for bad blood. In reality, no treatment was ever administered, as the actual purpose was to study the patients as they were suffering through life with syphilis. Even when penicillin became readily available for treatment, researchers did their best to ensure their test subjects remained infected. Head transplant. In 1970, Dr. Robert J. White successfully transplanted the head of a monkey onto another body. Then, recently, neuroscientist Dr. Sergio Canavero replicated the success by attaching a severed monkey head to another monkey's body. In both cases, the monkey later died. Canavero has stated that this is just a prelude to the first human-to-human transplant, which he hopes to perform very soon. The Kligman experiments. Dr. Albert Kligman was a renowned dermatologist responsible for the creation of Retin A and proving that chocolate does not lead to acne. However, he also had a slightly creepier side to his work. From the 1950s to the 1970s, inmates at Holmesburg Prison in Pennsylvania were human guinea pigs for the good doctor. Funded by the likes of Dow Chemical and even the US government, Kligman exposed inmates to all sorts of chemicals and even infected them with a variety of diseases as part of his ongoing research. Ear mouse. You've likely seen that science can use tissue engineering to develop new body parts. That said, elements of this can get a bit creepy. Take, for instance, our ability to grow new ears. Before, cartilage had to be extracted from the body to reconstruct an ear. Today, Japanese scientists have successfully grown a human ear on the back of a rat using stem cells. The image of a growing ear on the back of a rat is creepy enough. However, with scientists thinking they could grow entirely new faces in the future, the idea of rats with lips, eyes, and noses growing on them is rather disturbing. Well, folks, how's that tingle down your spine doing? Let us know in the comments down below if you enjoyed this video, or if it just plain freaked you out. While you're here, why don't you check out our other videos, like this one, and of course subscribe to The Richest for more creepy content every day. Thanks!